Eric Hoffer asserts, in the case of drastic change, the uneasiness is of course deeper and more lasting. We can never be really prepared for that which is wholly new. We have to adjust ourselves, and every radical adjustment is a crisis in self-esteem. We undergo a test. We have to prove ourselves. It needs inordinate self-confidence to face drastic change without inner trembling. And so Hoffer is a 20th century nonfiction writer, and he's best known for his work called "The True Believer: Notes on the Nature of Mass Movements." And he's concerned of like cultic behavior and how like people of fragile self-esteem are looking for something that will kind of fill the gaps, and sometimes they latch on to really crazy and conspiratorial and cultic ideas. Sometimes a whole society and a whole group of people can do that. And so if it's in red, it's a test question at the end. Hoffer continues, he says, the simple fact that we can never be fit and ready for that which is wholly new has some peculiar results. It means that a population undergoing drastic change is a population of misfits, and misfits live and breathe in an atmosphere of passion. There is a close connection between lack of confidence and the passionate state of mind, and as we shall see, passionate intensity may serve as a substitute for confidence. And so clearly, this has a relation to radically fast cultural transformation, a kind of erosion of tradition and old ways of doing things. And the individual is kind of left wondering. He's out there, right? Trying to figure out what to do and how to make sense of things. And the rub here, right, in red, I'll read it again. A population undergoing drastic change is a population of misfits, and misfits live and breathe in an atmosphere of passion. And so it's very emotional. They don't have the reason and the logic to kind of guide them in what to do. Had they a kind of clear path or a method which was fitting and appropriate, uh, they could utilize it, but they don't. So it's like, we're kind of left to the kind of basic passions, the desires in a way. This is like a weird one, but really what this is about is, if we don't have the real thing in our constitution and our character, right? If we don't have the appropriate confidence and esteem and kind of individual balance, what he's talking about, we will long for a substitute to fill in the gaps of our kind of fragmented and fractured self. And so Hoffer says this, he says, the substitute for self-confidence is faith, the substitute for self-esteem is pride, and the substitute for individual balance is fusion with others into a compact group. And so like the individual, right, if they haven't like if they're too in a way destabilized and haven't grown into a kind of mature, developed self that is confident with esteem and balance, then they'll be looking for these other things like faith, pride, and fusion with others in a compact group. And the kind of faith is not like the religious sort of faith, but it's kind of the idolatrous faith of turning stuff like your, I don't know, your political party or your skin color or even in terms of like sports fanaticism that leads to violence and stuff. Why do people join crazy cults? That's the question. And is it possible that when the sort of mediated popular culture communication technologies create so much change so fast that we lose our sense of self, and so we're groping for substitutes? That's the question. Hoffer continues, he says, in the chemistry of the soul, a substitute is almost always explosive, if for no other reason than that we can never have enough of it. We can never have enough of that which we really do not want. What we want is justified self-confidence and self-esteem. If we cannot have the originals, we can never have enough of the substitutes. We can be satisfied with moderate confidence in ourselves and with a moderately good opinion of ourselves, but the faith we have in a holy cause has to be extravagant and uncompromising. And the pride we derive from an identification with a nation, race, leader, or party is extreme and overbearing. The fact that a substitute can never become an organic part of ourselves makes our holding on to it passionate and intolerant, right? And so this idea of, what we really want is just to be a good person through self-confidence and self-esteem. And the way we derive that is by making promises to ourselves and others and keeping those and kind of always cultivating and developing and, being our better self, so to speak. But if we don't have that, we look for substitutes. To sum up, when a population undergoing drastic changes without abundant opportunities for individual action and self-advancement, it develops a hunger for faith, pride, and unity, right? It becomes receptive to all manner of proselytizing, which means conversion, and conversion into crazy stuff. Like, I don't know if you guys have followed the QAnon cult at all, but it's ridiculous. I mean, it's really batshit crazy stuff and totally superstitious and conspiratorial in a weaponized fashion. But nonetheless, I mean, a lot of, like, many thousands of people believe in this nonsense, right? Uh, it becomes receptive to all manner of proselytizing or conversion and is eager to throw itself into collective undertakings which aim at showing the world. In other words, drastic change under certain conditions creates a proclivity for fanatical attitudes, right? People banding together in dangerous ways. The herd conforms like into itself because, I mean, remember, these people have destabilized identities, and because they lack that self-esteem or that self-confidence, they're looking for a kind of faith and pride, and they find it within the group, within the herd, within the collective. And it's, and it can be very dangerous, and it has been very dangerous, right? I mean, remember, he's trying to explain Nazism here. So I'll read the last sentence. In other words, drastic change under certain conditions creates a proclivity for fanatical attitudes, united action, and spectacular manifestations of flouting and defiance. It creates an atmosphere of revolution.